Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Comment, subscribe, share. Visit us at yadaya.com.
What a fun new introduction. I understand that's Mariah's voice that is doing the review. We have, I think it's better than yesterday's. It's still got one more tweak before we get it quite right. And that is that, as I've shared with Leah and you, we don't really give a hoot if you share, you like, you comment, or subscribe. Not asking you, have never asked anybody for anything. I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm not asking anybody for anything. If it's of interest to you enough that you want to do those things, then we would encourage you to do those things. But I'm not going to ask you to do them. And we're not trying to be popular. God's never been popular, and those who speak for him are not going to be popular. So there's no reason to pursue popularity. So the last panel is going to be listen, learn, and live. That works for you, then we have a lot to offer. So that's the last tweak in all of this. But I do like the feel of it, the look of it. And as you know, we're now doing a new one for the Yahweh vlog, and it's going to be quite different, and it's going to have about a 12-second intro that's going to be quite bold. It'll fry some minds, and then it's going to have a 60-second outro. I don't know, by the time you've listened to a long program, what's another 60 seconds, right? So
you're invested. Yeah.
So you're invested. 60-second outro that helps to further explain what you're witnessing. But it's a very fun graphic presentation of what God's story really all boils down to. And it boils down to a very, very simple concept. And that is that God went to all of this because it's lonely up there. And he wanted to have a son, one that he could help manage the universe, explore it with him, share it with him. And that exercise did not go according to plan in the garden. Adam didn't pass muster. But still, that's what God wants. And, being God has some perks that go along with being God. And one of those perks is that, you can deploy the resources to get what you want. But he couldn't do this one alone, because when a father is as infinitely superior to a son than Yahweh was from Adam, who later becomes Dod, that's just too intimidating. You're never going to get the sun to rise in the presence of such enormity. So God essentially decided that, well, I've got the time. It's time to me. I will deploy someone to raise my son. We won't just do it once. We'll do it a bunch of times. In fact, we can do it 6 times over 6,000 years. And I'll support my firstborn with a mother and father who will instill the right kind of values in him, the right kind of fortitude, tenacity, resilience, moral integrity. And that's exactly what God's done. And that is his story. That the rest of us who are covenant for that reason.
Yeah.
That we can all participate in that endeavor, but that is the endeavor. God wanted a son. Dod is his firstborn son, and we're here to deliver the kind of son that meets his expectations, that he can manage the universe with and explore it and share it with. And in this same token, share it with us, because the son that we are raising to fulfill God's objective is naturally going to be just like God. God wants to share the universe with him. We are raising him such that he's going to want to share the universe with us.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it kind of falls under your view of things. You say you're not altruistic. Well, this is one of those situations. We help God, and it helps us.
Mhm.
We get a
Yeah.
payback on
Mhm.
doing this, and it works out well for everybody.
All deals do, right? Whenever there's,
All good deals. That God cut a
Mhm.
really good deal here. It's
Right.
benefits everybody. You don't have
Mhm.
to worry about somebody cheating on a deal that's in everyone's benefit unless they just do not belong in any beneficial deal, which would be
Mhm.
most people. So that's the story we're going to tell. It's a bold story. It's a simple story. It is God's story. And it is all revolves around that. All right. So we are in the vlog on the blog. And our first image, because it comes up all the time in social media feeds, is those who worship Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is their inspiration. He is the influencer of influencers. He's the guy that figured out how to make 50 mil a year playing the role of an influencer. Right. So play this and let's look what he did to earn 50 mil a year. What's he doing here? Take a look. Oh, those red hats. Ever seen those before? You know what those hats say on them?
MAGA.
MAGA.
Trump.
MAGA. So
Trump
yeah,
47.
Trump 45 and 47 is on the white one, and MAGA is on the red one. He made a fortune promoting a rapist and pedophile who is demon possessed as Satan and is destroying the world. I'm going to tell you, that's not going to work out very well for him. He would have done well to have chosen a different career path. And if you think that is noble, worthwhile, impressive, you think that he has earned a special status in your country and with your God, then you don't have much of a God.
Or much of a country, because
Or much of a country.
to promote that, to promote that kind of thing, to be about that marketing, it's disgusting. It really is.
It is disgusting. It's reprehensible. To be among the 38% of Americans who are still MAGA and still support this piece of scum of scums. You are everything that is wrong with the world. Yeah. And we're not saying that from a libertard point of view. So you don't get to say, them damn Dems, they have Trump dementia syndrome. No, I am far more conservative, far more values oriented than any MAGA Republican. Far more. I say it out of a sense of, I know God. I know what he despises. This is what he despises. If you're a MAGA, that's what he despises. If you're a Christian, you are at the very heart of what he loathes. So I speak from the position of God.
Yeah. Listen, learn, live.
That is the way that we are communicating our message, and that's what God wants you to hear. Oh, this is just funny. I don't know, I will mention dinosaurs. Well, if you read the creation account, it does specifically. It refers to them as mighty reptiles. That is the term that God used, mighty reptiles. So you think that a mighty reptile might be a good description of a dinosaur?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that
dinosaur, mighty lizard in Greek.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, terrible lizard.
He just doesn't terrible lizard. That's right. He doesn't use the term dinosaur because he communicated in Hebrew, not Greek.
Yeah.
But he did. Maybe if you knew what the creation account actually said, you'd be smarter than the T-Rex. Wouldn't that be clever? And you might even know that God doesn't have a Bible. So you wouldn't reference that term. Bible is from Babel. It means to intermix truth and lies, to confound. And if you knew the actual story of creation, one of the things you'd find out is that from the way that God presents his story from the creator at creation, he is absolutely correct from his perspective that it took 6 24-hour days. Because if you take the background radiation from the Big Bangs, there were plural of them, and that's, by the way, is the term that God coined 3,500 years before man decided to use it. He actually calls it a Big Bang. That if you look at that microwave radiation from the background of the Big Bangs, what you will find is that time was stretched 10 to the 12th power. And that means time's relative in the presence of great velocity or a great mass, both of would have been present at the genesis of the universe. Time was stretched 10 to the 12th power. If you take 14 billion years, you divide it by 10 to the 12th, guess what you get?
6 24-hour days.
24-hour days. So, when your jaw comes up off the table and says, oh, boy, oh my God. Then, maybe you can go on from there. And then each of those 6 epochs from that point on, using the natural spiral, depict exactly what occurred during that particular epoch of time. And God has everything laid out in the proper order and the proper time. And if you get to the 4th day and you say, oh, I see, it is really stupid. God's really stupid. He's creating the sun and the moon after he creates plant life. Then why don't you find the word create somewhere in the story? In fact, why don't you find the word for sun and the moon in the 4th day? Because you won't find the Hebrew word for sun and moon in the 4th day, nor will you find the word for create. The 4th day is prophetic. He is telling you that there will be 2 luminaries, 2 men, both Katan, both Gadol, both great from God's point of view. And one is the most important to God, and the other represents a diminished version of God. And that those 2 Maoreth fulfill the 6 Moedim leading to the 7th, which is the ultimate conclusion when we return to the garden. And so it is profoundly prophetic of, and probably the most important prophecy in the entire Torah. So you be careful with that one too. You get it wrong. I was had fun. It's a shame that Facebook's AI is so stupid. But the fact is that Facebook's AI is really, really stupid. And so I can't bring you what was in my feed from Facebook. They think that Facebook thinks that I'm an imposter and not a real person when we post things out of their feed. That'd be pretty dumb, right? Anyway, that's what their conclusion is. But there's a fellow, a handsome young man that is telling you that the Bible cannot be the word of a perfect God. And that is because there's mistakes. And he cites 3 mistakes in and what he would refer to as the Old Testament, and then a boatload in the New Testament. But the New Testament is just a joke. Yeah, just a joke. So what nobody ever bothered to tell him is that God never claims to be perfect. In fact, God claims otherwise. He cannot have regretted having created Nesama man, humans with a Nesama, if he were perfect. And if God were perfect, then his firstborn, Adam, would have fulfilled his destiny in the garden. But it didn't turn out that way. So God's not saying he's perfect. If God was perfect, we couldn't hang with him. And we would be of no value to him, and the universe would be no value to him because he couldn't learn anything, grow, gain anything. There'd be nothing for him. So perfect is just it's as stupid as omnipresent and omniscient and all of those kind of idiotic things that God is not and never claims to be. So he makes 2 mistakes before he gets going. But then he's got his 3 examples. He's so smart, so full of himself. And the first is he turns to 2 Samuel in the 24th chapter. Now, he's already in thick doo-doo and doesn't know it. And that is because the books of Samuel are all written in chronological order, depicting the events of that day, and they're really amazing in their precision and the accuracy as it relates to what we now know transpired at that time in those places. When it gets to the last 3 chapters, they're no longer a chronology. And the last chapter, in particular, the 24th, is this collection of things, of stories that Samuel did not report on. They are not part of his narrative. They are not chronological. They are, at the best, it would be, oh, I forgot to mention.
Right.
These are the
Or
3
the
things I
appendix.
forgot to mention. Let me throw them in here. That's the best you can say for them. The story, for example, of sending troops into Bethlehem, which was then occupied by the Philistines, to fetch a cup of water, and God saying, that's blood, throw it out on the ground. It's not attested in any of the stories, and so it appears at the end in this summation, or not even a summation, but oops, I forgot to tell you. And then that really, really odd presentation where Dode calls for a census. And this is where this nitpick was, because in Chronicles, it has Satan inspiring Dode to call for the census. And allegedly in 2 Samuel 24, it has God inspiring Dode to call for the census. And the census was called because Dode at that point was a real jerk. I mean, he was really antagonistic. I could speak that way of my son. My son can be a jerk. He was a jerk. He turned against God. And so his deal was, okay, if God's not going to serve me and serve Israel anymore, let's count how many people we can bring to arms. And when I do the census of how many men we can arm, then, we can, God, we don't need you. Look at this. We got a big army. That was his mindset. But what 2 Samuel 24 says is that mindset didn't come from God. The frustration over it came from God. This, I want to take a census, it was written in the volitional mood. It was spoken in second person, so it was written in the imperative mood, which means that it was Dode who made that decision. It wasn't God who imposed it on him. And so Mr. Atheist, trying to find an error, doesn't know the moods, didn't know what was actually said, and the 2 accounts mesh beautifully, and that whether it was the adversary who was in Dode's ear at that point, since God was not, and made this proposal, then the text clearly says it was Dode's idea. All right, so that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it, and the reason that I think it doesn't appear in the regular chronology, is that God was not speaking to Dode at this time. And yet it presents a direct dialogue between Dode and God. And it has Yahweh presenting Dode 3 alternatives. A 7-year famine, a 3-year plague, or 3 months of him being on the lam, running away from people who would wish him ill. And obviously, if there was such a, there you are, you're going to get yourself all positioned in there. There you are with Kirk's picture of the old tree in the sea. All right, you comfortable in there?
I am. I just gotta swap positions. You just keep going. I gotta swap positions here, so I'm looking the right way.
Yeah, the old tree in the sea. All right. So if there were such an option, and this would be God's response to, oh, you think you're such a big shot, then here's the consequence. And he gave those 3 options, and supposedly, and of course, Dode's not stupid. And he may have been at that point rebellious, but he wasn't stupid. In 3 months versus a plague on Israel, and it's a 3-day plague on Israel, and 7-year famine. He's going to say, all right. I was on the run for 20 years in my youth. I'll be on the run again with the heck for 3 months. Obviously, nothing's going to happen to me. So let's. It's woe is me. I made the mistake. I'll pay the price. But it has Dowd saying I can't do the obvious one, and so God goes off and kills a bunch of Israelis. That's what's presented in there, and so his second issue was that Chronicles says 3 years, and in Samuel it's written as 7 years, and since they're not the same, they're not perfect, and therefore you need to throw away the book that God's not perfect, and therefore it's trash. Now, do you know how much of Chronicles was retained in the Dead Sea Scrolls?
No.
2 lines, 2 verses.
Okay.
So guess what you're not going to ever do? You're never going to look up Chronicles and say, gee, I think I want to find out what that actually says in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
the issue with Chronicles is that Chronicles is not a contemporary piece. Chronicles was written, Samuel was written by Samuel concurrently. So back prior to 3000 which would be back prior to 1000 BCE. Chronicles was probably scribed somewhere around 400 or 500 BCE.
Wow. Yeah.
Huge difference between the books, and so the contemporary recording of events is always valued over named. We know the author. He speaks in first person. He is a major player in God's story, and he tells the story that he lived versus somebody 600 years, 700 years after him, who even misspells Dow's name. The most D-O-W-Y-Ds, the overwhelming preponderance of them show up in Chronicles. And so the Essenes who were copying these texts and saying, oh, that's a really long book. And we have a really older, more credible version. So we have lots and lots from Samuel, but we have just the 2 lines from Chronicles. So if the person writing Chronicles miswrote 3 versus 7 on a 1 to 10 scale of hand copying text, that is a 0.001 issue to cast your law 10. And then this particular guy then goes on to say that, and there are 2 creation accounts. In the second creation account, man is created before plants and animals, and it doesn't say that at all. What it says is that the first has a chronological presentation of creation, and it is accurate in even in time. And then the second is that now I'm going to focus on man, because all of this was created for Nesama man. And it says that that the earth did not have a Nesama man to work it. So in other words, all of this had blossomed, and there were animals and there were plants and everything else, but a Nesama man did not exist to work it. And then he goes on to tell the story of the garden and creating his firstborn. So it is the same story, but now we're beginning our focus on Nesama man. So he got that wrong too. Now he had 101 discrepancies in the New Testament, but if it wasn't for discrepancies, there would be no New Testament.
Right. I think you have 5,000 in a 5-volume series, right? So
I think I do. I think I have at least.
He was a lightweight.
Yeah, because you probably average 2 or 3 per page, and it's just shy of 4,000 pages. The volume's on Twistianity, so it's probably 10, 12,000 known mistakes, discrepancies, lies, rational fallacies, miscitations in the Christian New Testament. It's a pile of shit. It really is. It's just
Mhm.
absolute rubbish. The notion that there are 3 billion people that believe that nonsense it just tells you how right Satan has been in his assessment
Yeah.
of man.
Yeah.
Stupid. All right, now that you got yourself all cozy, we can go back to our blog. Okay, so anyway, we want to stand up for the dinosaurs. Okay, so they're trying to make him look like he is. He should belong in one of those.
Is this a JFK
Glorious,
kind of ish? Is this a
yeah,
Return
well,
to
yeah,
Camelot kind of
even
thing?
more noble, more
Mm-hmm.
refined than JFK, and going back to the Great Gatsby, if you will. He wants to be Napoleon of our era. No, he's a piece of shit, and the future does not belong to him or to patriots or to globalists. The future belongs to the covenant. Period. End of story. He and everybody else who believes as you do with this picture of this piece of shit are going to be dead within the next 7 years, without exception. Well, not everyone's going to be dead because we're going to be sending a whole lot of pieces of shit like this, and maybe even the person who promoted it to Sheol, where you get live forever. I don't think they have.
Forever. They don't have what? Have what? You cut out.
No, I don't think you're going to be able to order up look in the catalog and say, I'd like that comfy chair. And please,
No.
a nice suit would be good for me too. And I want some dramatic lighting. Get a photographer in here. We'll get her a really nice.
No light in Sheol, right?
That is not life in Sheol, and that's where he's headed. Oh my goodness. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believed. So you're going to be blessed by this religion. If you're an ignoramus and haven't got a clue, that is the way to receive blessings. You just believe the shit that we're throwing out at you, and you're going to be fine. Trust us on this now. You believe it, and you're going to be fine. I want you to trust us on this now. And don't you go looking, because if you go looking, then your belief, might be reinforced by something you've seen, and then it's no longer a blessing. So the key here is believe, don't look. Have faith, no facts. Now, isn't that the nature of all religions? Those who know don't believe. And all religions are based upon beliefs. So all religions are comprised of people who don't know. John 20:29. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I like him walking to the moon, though. Too bad that he has no clue why what the role the moon and the sun play in God's story. Oh, this is John MacArthur. John MacArthur, yes, indeed. If you are no longer a Christian, it is because you were never a Christian in the first place. Well, thank you, John. That is good to know. I'm pleased to hear that. I wish what you said is true. It really isn't. But I was once a Christian, and I can tell you that I am really, really glad that I'm not one anymore. So my life experience would be the opposite of your statement, John. The best advice I could give to everyone is don't be a Christian. Don't be a Muslim. Don't practice Judaism. Don't be caught up in Hinduism or Marxism. That so long as you're influenced by the things that caused old John there to be able to have fancy suits and live in a fancy house and fly fancy airplanes and have a big fancy church. All of those things are designed to take money from your pocket and put it into his pocket and to control and influence you. And so long as you're religious, you will never, ever know or approach God. Ever. You won't even be judged by God. You won't even be condemned by God. You will not have that luxury. Now, make your own choice, but God hates religion. And while he is annoyed by Judaism, because Judaism is the mother of the other religions. Christianity is the religion he hates the most because it robbed his beloved son of everything. There was no Christ. There cannot be a Christian. There was no Jesus. It's all a fraud.
First condition of the covenant, walk away. Walk away. You can't even hear. You can't even get close. You can't even smell, get a whiff of without walking away from religion and politics.
Absolute requirement. There are 4,200 religions in the world. Not 4,300, no, 4,200. I bet this person has counted them all. This is Mr. or Mrs. Christian Tweets. They are a blue check from X, and they are here to tell you there are 4,200 religions in the world. Truth be known, there are probably a billion religions in the world. I mean, every religion is a conspiracy that becomes a cult, and a few of those cults become popular enough to be known as religions.
Right now, there is some dude in a cave somewhere in.
If you took all time, there'd be a billion of these things. If in all places and all time, be a billion of them. If you're dealing with just our time and the categorization of what actually is perceived to be a religion and has moved out of the conspiracy and cult world, there'd be 100 of them. But there are 4,200 religions in the world, but there's only one empty tomb. There's only one man who conquered sin, death, and hell forever. How did he go into hell? Because I thought he was napping on the Shabbat. There is only one way to heaven, and his name is, I would put in delusional. Jesus never existed. God has never been and will never be a man. God cannot be killed. Men cannot kill God. Death does not resolve anything except it ends the life of your body. It does not end anything. This notion of bodily resurrection is Egyptian and foolish. And there is only one way to Shamayim, which is heaven. And that path is through the Moedim. And because Christianity doesn't even know what the Moedim represent, it's not that path.
Too focused on a cave, a tomb, and not focused enough on matzah.
Yeah, the deal is there is literally zero evidence on behalf of a Jesus Christ ever living. So to say that the myth has an empty tomb is to say that someone had to bury the myth. And that when they buried the myth, they looked in there and said, well, there's nothing but a myth in this tomb, so it must be empty. I mean, come on.
Yes.
There was no Jesus. The sad thing about the Jesus myth, if there's only one way for the Jesus myth to have prevailed. Paul created the Jesus myth by a different name. Jesus actually didn't exist until 1629. It's the first time that name was ever used. But Paul created the Jesus myth in 52 CE, 20 years after the fact. And he would have had zero chance to succeed. And truthfully, he didn't actually succeed. He died miserable and alone and admits it. And he was demon possessed and so really had a horrible life. But the only reason that his letters could then be used to create a Christian scripture was that he was writing and counterfeiting and fraudulently representing something that actually did occur. There actually was a Son of God who was born, at that time. He was known as Emmanuel. He was the Messiah and King. He was the chosen one. He had two parents, but the parents' names were not Joseph and Mary. They were Ruth and Boaz. He came from Bethlehem. He did not live in Nazareth. Nazareth didn't exist at the time. He was not named Iusus. He was named Dowd. There are hundreds of prophecies that speak of what he did and when he was going to do it. He was indeed crucified, and it was on Passover in year 4000, yeah. And right above the mercy seat of the Aaron Bereth was called the Ark of the Covenant. And beside his father, who was the bull, who made his sacrifice acceptable. And the Romans did actually convict him. And it was his father that put the Romans up to it. And his father put the Romans up to it by inciting the Jewish religious leaders. Because his son was indeed the king, not only of Yisrael and Yehudah, and not only this was that city named after him, the city of Dowd. Not only was his son the Messiah and the very Son of God, his son is coming back as the King of the universe. And he will take out the legacy of Rome. Well, the legacy of Rome will be taken out before he even arrives. Now, that would be treason to Rome. The myth of Jesus didn't do anything that would ever cause Rome to crucify him. Nothing. It'd be stupid. But if, and it wasn't an if, Boaz, as his father, incited the Romans to crucify him by inciting the Jewish religious leaders to rebel against this idea that there he was, this Dowd, former and returning king of Israel, the chosen one, the Messiah. And just as he had foretold, he was there to serve as the Passover lamb. Oh, they went apeshit.
Yeah. They had to be explaining it the whole time. Yeah.
Made such a ruckus that Rome said, well, then we're going to crucify this. This is a genuine threat to us. And by the way, you're going to go too, because you obviously are promoting him and this role. And it had to be orchestrated. So it not only happened on Passover, it had to happen exactly at that spot on Passover. Now imagine inciting the despicable Romans to crucify your son.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a big ask from God, but that's what it required. And so everything that you hear, the idea that there was a disciple named, they think it was Peter, but it was Shimon, another one named Jacob, another one named Yochanan. They weren't disciples, they were his brothers. There really was a Jerusalem summit, and Paul really was called over the coals because of it, because everything he said was a lie. And there really were Ibonim that recorded the Sermon on the Mount was delivered by Dowd, and the Olivet Discourse delivered by Dowd. And so what he was writing, what Paul was writing about was just a fraudulent name put on the reality of what Dowd had done. And then you might say, well, then it just changed the name and you got the story. No, because everything that Paul then extrapolated from that was untrue. It was pure babble. We'll start with the truth, and then I will rename it such that it becomes a despicable counterfeit and lie. He was not God. He was God's firstborn. It wasn't a random death. His death was on Passover as the lamb. And it's only understood in that context. And it was only the death of his physical body. His soul went on to carry our guilt into Sheol, which is how we are made innocent, so that he could celebrate not Easter on the first day of the week, he could celebrate Bikurim. And so it's just all a twisted mess of what Dowd actually did, perverted by Paul. And that is the entirety of Christianity. It's identity theft. And not identity theft of just any old schmo. This is Adam. This is Shem. This is Dowd. This is the firstborn and chosen one of Almighty God. That's who he attacked. And that's why God refers to Paul as the plague of death. So you can take your 4,200 religions and stuff them where the sun don't shine.
The Iran army trolling Donald Trump. The only ones talking about it, really.
Yeah, they are more than anyone. The Epstein files. Donald Trump was Jeffrey Epstein's closest pal for 15 years. They were sexual predators together. They both raped little girls. They were both pedophiles. They were both criminals in the cover-up of their crime. These facts are not in dispute. Donald Trump has done everything he can to obscure the evidence, to deny the evidence. And since the evidence is ubiquitous, the only way he can do that is to control the Department of Justice, and they haven't released the majority of the files, and they have redacted the worst of the files. And to keep people from screaming, you need to release them. You sexual predator, you. He starts wars. He goes off and kills people. The Iranians know that this war against them has nothing to do with anything other than Donald Trump trying to hide from the Epstein files. Take that and shove it, MAGA. The Iranians are smarter than you and more moral.
And it's just a list of crimes he's done trying to obscure from them. I mean, Venezuela didn't last long enough. There wasn't then we run out of narco boats to bomb, and to keep on the, and commit crimes by killing, people in boats in the Caribbean, right?
Greenland wasn't enough of a distraction that made him look too stupid. Claiming that he had the peace board for Gaza wasn't working out very well. And so that didn't work. The resorts in Gaza didn't work. The moving the Fakistanians into the Sinai didn't work. I'm going to end the war with Russia and in 2 weeks didn't work, or one day. Didn't work. His lecture against Zelensky and not wearing a suit and I'm abandoning Zelensky lasted one day, and then he had to play a different game, and nothing works for him. Nothing.
The ballroom, we tear off
the ballroom,
the White House.
The reflecting pool. Literally destroying the east wing of the White House without any approval, like it's your own private fiefdom. Going off and visiting the Arab fiefdoms that were had committed $20 billion in joint ventures with him while he's president, and he goes and visits them first. The ultimate betrayal of Israel, losing 2 wars against Iran. It just wasn't, these are the distractions, and they have kept people distracted because every day he says something stupid, like yesterday, I'm number 1 in killing.
Yeah.
So it's like a top that just keeps on spinning, and unfortunately for the victims, they'll never get justice. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead and play this, but the source of this tweet is pretty amazing. This is KKK Barbie that is making this tweet, and she is saying that Kuwait and Bahrain have bombed Iran for the first time, according to Israeli media. Do you support the Middle East countries uniting to destroy Iran's terrorist regime? You can go ahead and play this because it's quite a kaboom. Lovely. Do you know what you would call having the Middle East private estates with flags joining and bombing Iran? You have a word for that. It's called World War III. Congratulations. You just ignited World War III. And how do you think Iran's going to respond to that if you are Kuwait and Bahrain?
Oh,
Do you think
right there.
that
They're just gonna pound the hell out
Kuwait,
of
that
them.
Iran is going to say, well, all I'm going to do is hit the U.S. bases with our missiles, or are they going to go for the jugular now that you've engaged in the war? Have you thought through the calculus of that? Because I'm here to tell you the calculus of that is you committed suicide.
Iran has specifically warned against this.
I do not care. I think that everything that Trump is doing right now vis-a-vis Iran is insane, grossly immoral, and absolutely failed. But the more he does stupid stuff, the more obvious it is that we are right in identifying him as Satan incarnate.
Yeah, Iran has said explicitly what their targets will be if they continue, any of the Gulf countries continue, allowing America there or even attacking against them. They've given them a list of targets. They have expressly asked.
This is different, Kevin. Previously, they've attacked U.S. assets in those countries, and they did so because they said that correctly that the United States was waging a war against them using assets in Muslim countries. And so the American assets in the Muslim countries were fair game in a responsive war. If this is true, and I suspect it is, that it was actually Iran and Bahrain that initiated attacks directly against Iran. I can't say I suspect it is because I suspect that the CIA would lie about anything. And to create the illusion of somebody supports Donald Trump, they would fly missions out of both places and attribute those missions to Kuwait and Bahrain to create the illusion that Trump has support on these countries. And so it could well be nothing more than that. And if that is what it is, then I can tell you that the head of both countries picked up the phone and called Iran and said, hey, it wasn't us.
Right.
Yes. So I understand that you're going to, and if it wasn't us, then Iran's going to respond by bombing the American assets and bases in those countries all the more, but wouldn't take out a decapitation strike on the dictators themselves. Versus if they did, they've committed suicide.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thought here. And one of two things are true. I wouldn't trust the Israelis anymore either. I wish I could. I dearly love Israel, support Israel. I hate the Israeli government. And I've gone to the point where I have zero confidence in anything that the Mossad, the Shin Bet, the IDF, or any politician in Israel reports. I have zero confidence in it. So if it's a report out of Israel, at one time that was the gold standard, and now it isn't. So it also could be Israel trying to get countries to join in. But the only country that Israel has been able to co-opt thus far is not one of these two. So that does suggest that Israel is lying, and that the CIA and Trump are lying, and that KKK Barbie is lying, and that's UAE. That's been the only one they've been able to co-opt. And that wasn't the one that responded. So and the most vulnerable of these countries happens to be Kuwait. I just don't see it. Bahrain has been because of the Fifth Fleet, has been the most attacked by Iran, but there's just nothing left for them to defend in terms of American interests. But boy, do we have a mess. Mm-hmm. Oh my. Do you hear the latest is that evidently there are those who are close to Trump who are reporting that he is now bragging that he's going to take Krog Island and that he's going to marshal an invasion. That Satan has gotten so spun up that Iran isn't obeying his every wish. You know how Satan gets. Mm-hmm. That he does want to destroy them and he wants to invade them. Again, while it is the wrong decision, I would actually say that him doing so is in the best interest of the world, because it will further destroy any illusion that Trump is anything other than Satan, mm-hmm. and that the United States is anything other than a force for the destruction of the world. So it makes what we know to be true even more undeniable. So you hate to wish ill on anyone, but in this particular case, we only have 7 years left, and the sooner people mm-hmm. wake up, the better. So might as well pull off the veil, pull off the mask, be who you are, and let the pieces fall where they may. And those who are going to reject him, they can come and listen. We have a story to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of talk last night and yesterday about the bombings of Mashallah province, two railroad bridges that connect Iran to China and Russia through the north there were taken out, and that is exactly where the procession was for the Ayatollah's body at the time as well, was in that province, and so
that isn't reckless. That is so provocative. Mm-hmm. It's the West with the Ukraine war, proxy war against Russia, has come to recognize that there is no red line that Putin will reject to or respond to having crossed. That you can mm-hmm. continue to mm-hmm. punch Russia in the jaw, and Putin will just sit there and take it like a stupid idiot. And so they just keep on upping the ante against Russia. Europe does. This almost seems like the same taunt by mm-hmm. the most egomaniacal forces behind American policy, who desperately want a war against China and Russia because they want to confiscate their assets. I mean, the whole purpose of the proxy war of Ukraine against Russia was so that these oligarchs mm-hmm. in the West could confiscate and control Russian assets, and they want to do the same thing with the Chinese assets. And so to bring Russia and China into this war where they're not going to die, it's not their sons that are laying their lives mm-hmm. on the ground, and the more there is war, the more money they make, even if it destroys the world. So this is so provocative that it speaks of the powers that be in the United States are actually trying to incite World War III, thinking they'll profit from it. Mm. It's gut-wrenching, isn't it?
It's sick. It's sick.
It's just sick. And again, Russia and China don't want America to fall precipitously. They mm-hmm. know America is over. Everybody that can think knows America is over. It's over. I mean, Trump has destroyed it. America's economy, its debt, it's not sustainable. The petrodollar is done. America's reserve currency is over. America is never going to have any prestige in the world again. I mean, mm-hmm. it literally has been destroyed. And so what China and Russia aren't sitting there pounding their chest saying, we won, we won, we won. Mm-mm. Because what they have done is they have built economies uh, to survive doing business with America. So if America just pulled out of the picture immediately, both countries would be just fine economically. It would, if there was actually a economic war between China, Russia, and the United States would shrivel up and die. But those other countries have essentially no effect on them. But if America goes bankrupt precipitously and takes Canada, Mexico, and parts of Europe with it, then it is devastating for China, not as much for Russia, but it's devastating for China because they don't have enough external market to make up for all of that. And it would be chaos even in China. Total chaos in America, of course, and in Europe, but it's not something that China could deal with. They know that's where the world is headed. They know America will be completely bankrupt within 10 years, and they think probably 5 years, but they don't want it to be next year. So they're trying to slow roll America's financial collapse. And so that's some of the reasons they don't respond when America does these provocations, and then those in the West say, "See, they didn't respond. We can push it further."
Yeah, death throes of an empire. I mean, it's just going to lash out any place it can lash out as things continue to get worse and worse and worse. Where the best thing to do is step back and hit them with a trank gun to calm them down a little bit so that they die nice, peacefully and slowly and not tear up everything
not so
around
violently.
them.
Russia doesn't want World War III. They just don't.
They want to sell cheap gas.
But America and Trump do, and so it's really tough living in a world where you have Satan with his finger on nuclear holocaust, acting like Satan. The wreck of that NATO summit with the Donald Trump, it's just like you were watching events in hell. It's just there's no part of it that can be explained in terms of a normal world or a normal human being. And it's so chaotic, so egomaniacal, so destructive, so demonic, so deceitful. That is what we're witnessing now in Iran. He's been spun up, and the MAGAs are spun up with him. Look at this. Yeah. KKK Barbie. Yay, Donald.
How are they ever going to get people to be behind Karg Island? I mean, that is going to go so bad so fast that everybody knows it's a bad idea. I mean, right? Really? Everybody?
There's no question that America has the military wherewithal to occupy Karg Island. I don't know if anybody's done the statistics on how many Americans would die in the process, but we can occupy. We, the Americans, can occupy Karg Island. What they can't do is hold it.
Right.
Because if you try to stay there, you're going to be pounded with artillery and with drones and with missiles. And so that means that you would have to then go inland and hold the ridge line. But that ridge line would cost you a lot of men. And you aren't going to get the D-Day kind of landing craft in there. It's not that kind of terrain. And you don't have the resources to deploy there. And plus, it's all filled with mines. So this is not going to work for you. And if you took that ridge line, you'd have to take the next ridge line and the next one and the next one. And then what happens when they capture a POW? And what happens when the consequence of this is thousands of American lives for a war that America doesn't want? What happens? He has put himself in a position with his second attack on Iran that he cannot get out of. That the only solution was surrender. $325 billion in reparations and released funds, total release of all sanctions, and granting Iran control over the Strait of Hormuz. Those were the terms of the surrender document. So he was already in that spot. He invades. The consequence is 1,000 times worse.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Every way
absolutely.
you look. I mean, there was no desirable, beneficial solution to the end of this war as it was. That's why he couldn't
Mm-hmm.
end it. He couldn't even surrender. And now, if he goes that next step, and he's crazy enough to do it, then we're done. It's put a fork in it.
I just don't understand. I mean, I see it all the time, and the term is just stop digging, right? When you're in a hole, just stop digging, throw down the shovel, and walk away. You know,
Yeah, what did the old gambler song? Don't ever send good money after bad. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
lyrics of the song, but that's the message of the song.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, my father was a real asshole, and very abusive. But he had a few sayings that have stuck with me, and one of them is, if you're going to gamble, you never send good money after bad. Sometimes you just have to accept your losses, and the surrender
Mm-hmm.
document for Iran was America licking her wounds and dealing with the losses. You invade, you've doubled down, you've taken a
Mm-hmm.
situation where there is no remedy, and you made it infinitely worse.
Yeah. It's gonna be mushroom clouds all over the place.
Oh, the issue is that there is really there's no accounting for the very thing that well, first of all, you're not going to have regime change, 20 million people
Mm-hmm.
celebrating the life of the Ayatollah and his family, pretty much, but doom that. So the next issue was, okay, we're going to prevent them from having a nuclear bomb, but how do you prevent them from having a nuclear bomb when they had no nuclear bomb? How do you claim that that's your victory, is them having no
Mm-hmm.
nuclear bomb when they didn't have a nuclear bomb? And then you're going to say, well, we're going to keep them from refining uranium, but the 12-point plan or 14-point plan didn't mention anything about them not refining or mining uranium.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even mention enriching uranium at any degree. And then you say, well, we're going to collect the uranium that they have already enriched. Well, we don't even know where it is, but we do know where some enriched uranium is, because the U.S. managed to hit ventilation shafts at Nance and Fordo. And while there was very little uranium-235 in either place, they removed it from both places, and they have 40 other sites that would finish the refining and turn them into bombs, where they have missile silos and everything else. So the uranium to make the bombs is already long gone, and in other places. But those centrifuges that were there, they don't just turn them off and say, hey, hasta luego, we'll see when the war is over. You don't drain them and say, well, let's pull some uranium out here. Anybody got a bucket for some uranium?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you don't pour it into a bucket. You don't empty these centrifuges. You don't shut them down. And so the centrifuges are still there. They're still filled with uranium at various degrees of refinement, most between 20 and 60%. And they carried all the uranium that was already enriched to the point where it'd take a week to finish it to the 87% needed for physical purity of a bomb. But all the centrifuges and some 40 locations still exist, and they still have uranium in them.
Mm-hmm.
And we took 2 of them, and we exploded bombs in the ventilation shafts. And the percussion of that didn't actually cause the mountains to implode and bury it, as if you were trying to bury uranium under a toxic waste deep field.
Right.
What it did is the shock wave would have cratered those centrifuges, so they would have all leaked like hell. And all of the ventilation shafts and rooms are still open. It was just a shock wave that went through them. And so you've destroyed everything in them with the but still leaking out to the world without any means of containment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. We did that in Nance. We did that in Fordo. And so we've got a real mess now. There is no way to fix that. None. The people that the Iranians have sent in have all died. So this is unintended consequence. I mean, a 1 to 10 scale of somebody ought to have had asked the question, Mr. President, if we drop these bombs on the top of the mountain, all they're going to do is make dust and scare some camels to death. And we can't go through, these bombs penetrators are not meant to go through that many feet of granite and then reinforced concrete. So we're just going to make a big kaboom, and it's not going to work. Now we do have a plan that might work, and that we can send these. We're smart enough. We can send these Moabs and deep penetrators. We can send them down the ventilation shafts. We know where the ventilation shafts are. We can send them down the ventilation shafts, and we can explode them in the ventilation shafts. And we've seen them seal up the exits and entrances to these facilities. We go kaboom in the ventilation shaft. That shock wave will take everything out. Won't bring the mountain down. Won't destroy the rooms, but it'll destroy all life in them and everything in them. Oh wow! Let's do that then. We'll obliterate it. Mr. President, sir, if we do that, to the extent there is and there will be uranium in those centrifuges that are in those, that they spent all that money to put into that mountain, sir, it's going to all leak out of those centrifuges. And now what, sir? Because we didn't bury them, cause the mountain to crumble over them. We didn't create a tomb for them. We will just have released it within the underground facilities, sir.
Yes,
How is that a good thing, sir?
We bombed them like they'd never been bombed before.
We did. We bombed nuclear refining facilities like no idiot has ever bombed them before.
Yeah, it's an underground Chernobyl. The only thing that's keeping it from being an international disaster is the fact that that's 400 feet below the ground. We still have
feet doesn't matter, and 400 feet doesn't matter anymore.
Well, with the ventilation shafts open,
no,
yes.
But it doesn't matter if the ventilation shafts are on the surface or are 400 feet under the ground. The moment you open any of those doors, it all goes into the atmosphere, because we didn't bury the chambers. We just busted up the stuff that was in it with the shock waves.
Right.
And no seal is good enough to keep it all contained. And somebody eventually has to deal with it. And there's no way to deal with it. I mean,
because you can't get close enough that you're cooked.
No. And you can't even use the ventilation shafts anymore to pour concrete down it, because we blew the ventilation shafts, we blew to smithereens. And if you explode the deep penetrators in those ventilation shafts, then they're not sealed, are they?
No. Yeah.
So
just kicks up more radioactive dust in the atmosphere.
That's the reason why the Iranians said, "Oh, you want the uranium at Fordo and Nance? You come get it, big boy. You just come get it. You can get at it. You can have it." They're never going back in those places.
Yeah.
Unintended consequences of an idiot. Go MAGA. It says funny how the Epstein files just vanished from the headlines. It isn't funny. The world is literally being destroyed over the failure to expose the scum that enabled this predator. And by the way, it's far more than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just the number one enabler. But you got MBS as an enabler. You got the CIA, the American FBI. You have captains of industry, Bill Gates. You've got even Elon Musk begging for access to Pedophile Island. If you read who were actually at Pedophile Island, it's the who of America's media. Yeah. It brings everybody down, and they're deadly afraid of it. And so
European
part
royalty.
The issue is that he was right. If you get enough powerful people compromised, then they will prevent an investigation, and that's what's happened. And by the way, many of the victims have received boatloads of money and signed confidentiality agreements. So the most damning files are redacted because of the confidentiality agreements. And so, women who are the victims, you can't have it both ways. You can't accept the money and the confidentiality agreement that came with it, and then expect justice. You traded justice for money.
For a
I'm
paycheck,
not going to say I'm not condemning you for doing so. But that was a trade, and you can't have it both ways. No deal with the devil. So they have Trump and his long tie, and he's silhouetted by the brilliant sky, and he's got the American flag, and I don't know if those are waves or what those things. Oh, yeah, that's the beast. He has slayed the beast. Yes, indeed. So no deal with the devil. It brings me no satisfaction to defend Iran. No one has risked more to expose and condemn Islam than I have, having written the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion and having done 10,000 radio interviews to expose and condemn the consequence of Muhammad and Allah and of Islam's formation. But I want to tell you, the devil in this deal is the man with the long tie. He is quite literally Satan. And so there are very few circumstances where the moral response is to stand with the people who have been poisoned by one of the great toxic dumps of all time, Islam. But in this case, they're the victim. And Trump is the living incarnation of the devil. The world will know that within 7 years. And over time, more and more people will understand why we have proclaimed it as such. But this is reality. It is exactly this way. He is Satan, which is why he presents himself as if he were a god.
If they had never even the first time worried about Iran, gone into Iran, bombed Iran, acknowledged that Iran even exists, that would not set up the 4 million jihadis that roll into Israel in 2033.
Correct.
Correct. All you had
It's
to
all
do
part
was
of the
nothing.
same scenario. It all plays out such that because of the ongoing belligerence of the United States and Israel, Iran's ultimate ploy is they're going to take 4 million jihadis and they're going to march into Israel, and they're going to be 1,000 times more hellish than were the 4,000 Muslims on 10/7. And the IDF will be able to do nothing to stop them. So that is what's coming. And this man will have completely betrayed Israel by that point. He is Rahab. Nice red tie. Well, these are just the books of the Yada Yah series. There's 9 of them. There's another 3 that are called An Introduction to God, another 5 that are called Observations. There are 3 currently, and I've actually written 6 that are coming home. There are, and these books, by the way, average about 650, 700 pages, some as much as 825 pages, and they're all free. They're all based upon my translations of the oldest manuscripts available and then analysis of them. And there's another series called Babel that proves that Judaism is false, of 3 books. There's one that is 5 volumes long of Twistianity that proves the New Testament is false, and 5 volumes called Goddamn Religion that prove that the Quran is false, while proving that the Torah and the prophets are true. Nothing like this has ever happened in all of human history. All total about 30,000 pages of analysis, and it's all free. This is the library that can save your soul. I would dare say it's the only library capable of saving your soul. And it was designed and inspired for exactly that purpose. And we've made it easier maybe than we should. You don't even have to read anymore. You can go to the site, click on the books, and they will talk to you. And they will talk to you in a series of very entertaining voices. And you don't even have to turn the page. They will turn the page for you. You don't even keep track of where you are. And on that page, they'll highlight what is being read to you. All of it. They'll even keep track where you were the last time you were in that book. One after another, all for free, all in their entirety. Absolute proof that Christianity is a lie. Absolute proof that Islam is a lie. Absolute proof that Judaism is a lie. And absolute proof that the Torah, prophets, and Psalms are true, and that Yahweh is God, and that Dowd is his beloved son. I would encourage you to go to yadayah.com. Your call, your soul.
How's that go? Listen, learn, live.
Listen, learn, live. That is the byline. And one of the things that we have done, and this is an interesting thing, the Islamic dilemma, is that if the Bible, so let's dispense with that term and say what you have is the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, which when you remove certain books like Enoch and Ezekiel, Job and Jonah, that were not inspired by God, is absolutely true, proven by prophecy. And it being true, then every claim in the Quran pursuant to the characters in the Torah, prophets, and Psalms are untrue. So if it is true, then Islam is false. But if it's untrue because Islam claims that it is the God who said these things, then it's also false. And the very fact that its rendition of the same stories is grossly perverted to the point of being laughable on a book that didn't appear until 2,100 years after the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, it means that there is a 0% possibility the Quran is true. You can't pervert that which you claim is true and be true. And if you claim that it's true and it says the opposite of what you are saying in the Quran, then you're lying. And even if it isn't true and you claim it to be true, then you lied. So there is no solution for Islam. But the same logic applies to the Christian New Testament. That it is totally reliant on the Torah, prophets, and Psalms being true, because it gives it the religion 100% of its credibility. The religion has no credibility whatsoever apart from the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. It doesn't even have any prophets. The same thing is true with the Quran. It has no prophet without the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. It has no God without the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. It has no basis for existence without the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. And yet both the New Testament and the Quran are the antithesis of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. They contradict it and pervert it in every possible way. And for a rational and informed individual, that means there is a zero possibility that the New Testament or the Quran or even the Talmud are true. Zero. It's rationally impossible. Now, I wish people would just think, shed your ignorance. Ignorance is not bliss. Yahweh even said, my people are destroyed for being stupid. It's not even a paraphrase. That's what he said in Hosea. Right. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That lack of knowledge is a simple word for it would be stupid. Ignorant, if you prefer. He's not even saying my people are destroyed for being irrational. He didn't even say my people are destroyed for not being logical. He just said they're flat out destroyed because they're ignorant. They lack knowledge. They don't know. And because people don't know that the Quran and the Torah are opposites, that the Quran and the New Testament are opposites, that the Talmud contradicts the Torah in every possible way, because they don't know that, they're not in a position to make an intelligent decision. And conclude, therefore, the Talmud, the New Testament, and the Quran must absolutely and unequivocally be false. And there is no way to come to any other conclusion than they're false if you just know what each says. The reason that the 10 volumes or 13 volumes comprising Babel, repudiating Judaism, 5 on Twistianity, repudiating the New Testament, and the 5 called Goddamn Religion, 4,200 pages, repudiating the Quran and Hadith, Allah and Muhammad, are written as they are, as I present what they claim, what their scriptures say, and I compare it to the God whose testimony they ripped off. And they're absolute opposites. So by making that comparison, you prove emphatically that they lied. Now, if they had created a religion totally removed from the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, I could not disprove it by making the comparison. I could say the Torah, prophets, and Psalms proves that it's true by prophecy, and it's really interesting, and the God's worth knowing, and it's an amazing story, and you'll love it. I can say that, and by comparison, this one is really inferior, but you don't disprove the other if it is entirely different. But because they didn't do it that way, the Talmud, the New Testament, and the Quran are wholly based upon the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, and they contradict it in every way. All you have to show is that they contradict the very basis of the thing that they claim is the basis of their religion, and it's over for them. It's that simple to destroy the 3 Abrahamic religions. But that requires, what does the Quran say? What does the Torah say? What does the New Testament say? What does the Torah say? What does the Talmud say? What does the Torah say? Unless you know both, you can't refute these 3 religions, and you live in ignorance. My people are destroyed because they're ignorant.
The same guy that got the rabbis all riled up in 33 CE, huh? with the same argument.
He is that same. He hadn't changed much, has he?
Right.
God says, I like this guy. I like this guy.
Right.
Yeah, this guy's
got something for you. Yeah.
He is a rabble rouser. That's one of the things that's so interesting
Na'ar.
about Na'ar. That word. He's a rabble rouser. He is a the guy that that is constantly saying, no, you are all wrong, and get away from what's right. I want to get rid of your muck. Yeah, it fits the personality, and it fits God's personality. And it's the attitude that Twistianity, Goddamn Religion, and Babel were written.
Yeah, even the word Na'ar doesn't have a nice sound to it. There are some words in Hebrew that it's like, yada, olam, they just run off the tongue, and they're nice, warm word. Na'ar is not a warm word. Na'ar is get away.
The Na'ar and the Na'ara are God's implements. He loves them. He loves Na'ar. It's just like Shazak. Shazak is not a nice sounding word, because it's rough, it's bold, it's blunt, it's forceful. That's the way God likes it. So these non-tepid words, these non-humble and meek words, and people are the ones that God favors. He likes the Na'ar. He loves the Na'ar. When he sent the witnesses along with Abraham and Yishak to do the dress rehearsal to the fulfillment of the spring Moedim. The 2 fellows were Na'ar. Na'ar is everything we learn about Ruth and Boaz pertain and circle around the Na'ar. They're essential to God's story. And the presentation of the Choder, he is a Na'ar. He's not just a Na'ar, he's a Na'ar Katan. A double dose of God's terms.
Yeah. I was even thinking, looking at this guy's headscarf here, that the Torah does a great job of refuting the Marxist love child of Palestine, doesn't it? That Palestine doesn't exist without the Torah. Period. The word
No.
doesn't even exist. Yeah.
No. Yeah, the Torah,
And-
prophets, and Psalms, the writings, are the only reason that a people named Philistines are even known. If without them, they wouldn't be known, because they were so tragically hostile, but they were so inept that their territory to which they raided was strictly Israel, and after King Saul was done in, and Dode was made king, he made quick work of them, and rendered them such they were no longer a threat to Israel. And then over time, the Egyptians came through and they pummeled them again. And then the Assyrians came through, they pummeled them again. And the Babylonians came through and pummeled them again. And we're told that there may have been a small outpost of them that Alexander the Great finally wiped out. So they were totally decimated and not any left. I don't know if it was just their outpost, and the outpost had Egyptians in them at that time. Who knows? But the fact is, there's not a single survivor of them. There's really no record of them. The Philistines and any other culture, they're described as terrorist invaders from Crete in God's story. Their DNA does trace to Crete. They had no currency. They had no known kings of outside of what we know in the Torah and prophets. And no real towns, nothing to show for them. And today's Palestinians have no correlation with them, whatever. There's no national correlation, no genetic correlation. It's just a slur. It's a bogus term. So, yeah, knowledge is powerful, and if you don't know, you can be easily misled. Look at all the young MAGAs that are rooting for Palestinians in Palestine that are just ignorant of the fact that there is no such place. There are no such people. Yes. Shitticus Maximus. There he is. Mr. Babylon. It's one of the great disappointments, I think, in this job is with as many people who have been desirous of being the first to identify the so-called Antichrist and the concern over this Antichrist figure and eschatology and among Christians. And you figure out who he is and you prove it. And then you write entire books that validate it. That Time of Trouble, the 9th volume of Yada Yada, proves it, overwhelmingly. And we've done a whole series of shows on it. We've written songs on it to expose this. And the world yawns. And yet every day he validates that the prophets were right. Of course, the prophets are right. They've always been right. They've never been wrong. He is Mr. Babylon. He is Rahab. He is Satan incarnate. He's the great betrayer of not just Israel, but of the world. He is Shitticus Maximus. It's Donald Trump. He is instigating the Fourth Reich, and it's going to be shorter lived than was the Third Reich. He's got 7 years. That's it. And then he's into hell. You know who this fellow is. You know why God took him. You know what God did with him. Why is his story included? That's the great difference, I think, that there's a number of differences that I've taken in writing these libraries of books, is that most people were content to have really ridiculous translations. You know, they were, if you're talking about the New Testament, they're about 90% false. And in what's called the Old Testament, Torah, Prophets, and Psalms, they're probably 50% misleading or incomplete, maybe more. And they're just happy to have that, and they'll pretend like their favorite translations is the perfect Word of God, and they'll rattle through these stories that they like, ignore the ones they don't like, and kind of go on with their lives. Why did Yahweh create Adam? Why did he create Chava? Why did he kick him out of the garden? Why did he create this man, Chinook? What did this man do to distinguish himself? Why did God bring him from this world to be with him? What did he do with him after that occurred? Why? 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 No one ever asked the why. And I'm never content until I know the why. Now, I told you that into this program, I have spent a day now pursuing why they are used in so many of these profoundly important places, including Isaiah 11, which is the textbook, the preeminent chapter on how to be a choder.
Mm-hmm.
And why is Catan used there? And why is Catan the essence of the first prophecy? And why are these things so interlocked and interlaced together? It's always, I gotta know the why.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to know the why. I was asked to leave the room because I couldn't quit asking the why.
Yeah. But the why is the interesting story. And if you don't know the why, what purpose is the story? Why did God take Chinook to be with him?
Mm-hmm.
And then what did he do with him? What's the why? And if you don't know the why, then you're never going to figure out who you are, why you exist, or how to know God.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to use your Nasama to question things and to strive to figure them out. He turns out to be one of the two most interesting men in the world. And not just the world today, the world since recorded history began 6,000 years ago. His name means trained, prepared, and deployed. Might give you a clue.
Mm-hmm. And then reverse it and add some water.
Yeah, reverse the name, and you've got Noach, and it's just Noach's name with a whole mass of water, and then you got well, actually, Noach's name is Chinook's name, slimmed down, and in the reversed order. Noach's name is just 2 letters long, and it happens to be the 2 letters that start Chinook's name. They are the same person, and it's only when you know that the same person you have any clue as to who Noach was and what Noach was doing, and why Noach had a son named Shem, and why they were there at the fulfillment of the covenant with Abraham and Yishak, and how it was Noach that told Shem, one day, son, that's going to be you. You are that lamb being offered by God. Mm-hmm. Well, one day that's you. I want you to remember this day. All right, so obviously that is a more handsome version of me with my lovely wife, and we really are right there in the heart of God's story. And you don't think so? Go to yadayada.com. All the books are free. Come to have an appreciation for what the purpose of this couple is. And I think you'd be stunned how really simple God's story is. And it really doesn't get any more complicated than God was lonely. Mm-hmm. And God was in quite a fix himself. He's not perfect. He was lonely. And there was nothing for God to do. Really, it gets just down to that. And the only way that a infinite being remains infinite is to constantly grow. And so the whole idea of creating the universe, conceiving life, and authoring and inspiring the Torah was in support of what God wanted to resolve that in a very favorable way. He wanted a son to share it with. If he can share the management of the universe, explore the universe with his beloved son, and enjoy the universe, life, and everything that he created in this universe with his son, then he's not lonely. He has someone to share everything that he is done with, and someone to enjoy his, witnessing what he can do with his life. And that's the purpose of Adam. It just didn't work out, not in the garden. But, as I said, there's an advantage of being God. You have all the time you need to fix a problem. And you got all the resources you need to resolve the problem. And God just figured out a really clever way to resolve the problem of Dode not measuring up in the garden. He needed a mom and a dad. This is his mom and his dad. And we've been his mom and dad for a very long time. And our role, even when we're not physically his parents, is to serve as his parents. And we've been doing that for 6,000 years. And we're about done. Well, we're not really done. You see,
We're just starting out.
Yeah, we're just starting out. You see, Dode was never conceived to function on his own. God makes that very clear. Not good for Adam to be by himself. So Dode is not made to work on his own, ever. He just doesn't function on his own. You see Dode when he had crappy parents at the beginning of his the life that most people know, where he was the shepherd boy that became king. It was a rough go. He had crappy parents and he did not function well. He did a lot of bad stuff. And it wasn't until God inserted his parents that he got his life together. And God's just made certain that every one of Dode's redeployments, he had parents to support him. Because ultimately, we are going to deliver a son to Yahweh that meets all of Yahweh's expectations and more. And even then, where God will be able to elevate Dode, of course, to the same dimensionality that he is, 7 dimensions, and then he'll be able to relate to his son just fine, and his son will have been trustworthy to be elevated to that point. He is still not going to leave his son alone or unattended. And so we are Dode's parents. Our goal is, our mission is to turn God's beloved into the son that God wants. And it's been a 6,000-year-old grind to get there. Lots of ups and downs along the way. And the covenant family is all because of that project. That's what Noach represents in Shem. It's what Ruth and Boaz represent. It's this is the intent. This is where we're going. And to be covenant means that you're in support of that plan. And if you're in support of that plan, you're a beneficiary of the plan. This is doing well by doing good. Is God cut us a deal. And the deal was, you raise my son and you'll be family. That works for me, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So that's after all of this time, we've just gotten to read the heart of God's story. That's the heart of it. Yeah. And I would say just one other thing for those that would say, you're making big claims, or that's very egotistical or something like that. Yeah, then I would say that you just don't know. First of all, I didn't make the claims. God did. And you got to deal with the claims that God has made. But second of all, this is the hardest job in the history of the universe. There's never been a more difficult job. And I'd say if you think that you can do the job, by all means, step up. I'm ready for a vacation. Step up. Think you can do the job.
There's a sandal joke
I
in
was
here
ready
somewhere.
on Sunday to check out and say, I think I've done my deal. I'm going to heaven. I'll catch up with you when you arrive here in 11 months. But I'm out of here. I've finished what I needed to do this time through. So if you think you can step up, by all means, step up. I'm ready. I'm ready for a vacation. But that's not likely to happen. So before you decide, I want a piece of that, you better figure out what's required. And the most interesting is what we have learned in reviewing the Choder presentation once again, where Dode's father, Boaz, in 33 CE has to incite the Romans to crucify his son. And then he's crucified right along with him. And then both of their souls go into Sheol together. If you think you're ready for that, step on up. And but by the way, that ain't the last time the soul gets tortured, because then you've got to also fulfill teruah. And if you think you're a man or woman enough for that, by all means, I'll step aside and watch you do what needs to be done. But by the way, there's about 25 years of knowledge and a bunch of lives that prepare you for this. So you're going to have to catch up in a real hurry, because you don't have much time left.
Yeah. The books read themselves to you, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they didn't. I actually had to do all the work to research them, do the translations, come up with the insights, write them, edit them, get them published, create the website for them, have a friend that I could work with to create talking books that are real page turners. All you have to do is listen. That's not much to ask after, I've put in 100,000 hours in this, and I'm not even charging you a dime to listen. Not even giving you the chance to donate. I'm not even giving you the chance to subscribe. If you want to listen. If you don't. I don't care. Your call. So I do have a question here. Why is it that you have a religion that is so twisted, so demented, they can't stop torturing their God?
Over and over and over.
Their God never gets off that damn cross. Why do you have a religion that finds it desirable to torture and torment their God? And why do you have a religion after all of this time that reduces God to a man? Why does your God wear a crown of thorns? It's pretty pathetic, isn't it? If that's your God, you are one sick person. If that is your God, you're in deep shit.
Amen Ra.
Babel, mixing religion and politics. Born in Babylon and hasn't changed since. The notion of politics and religion together is the textbook definition of Babel, at the basis of Bible, and it means to confound and confuse by commingling truth and lies. There is the God of Babel. Goodbye. When we first encountered Elon Musk after, when you actually get to think you know him because he buys Twitter and he becomes the head tweet. And, he appears to have some nobleness in his character. And then you see him make the mistake of his life by causing Donald Trump to be elected by spending $300 million in the swing states. And then you see him go into the Doge project and do everything the wrong way and have it blow up in his face and become counterproductive. And then you see him turn on this demon-possessed president, only to find that that was really scary, because he had already pissed the liberals off, and now he was pissing the MAGAs off. And so he was a man without an island. He was a man with products to sell that no one wanted to buy because his name was associated with them. And he was a man with companies that were totally dependent on the U.S. government. And so he had to go back and kiss up to the Donald, to Satan. What a travesty. And now is a man that lives on delusions and illusions. I pity him.
Yeah, this quote, either we fight back or they will kill us. That was his right after Charlie Kirk was, I mean, it was a call to
mission that he had no morality, no judgment, and no empathy. Charlie Kirk was scum. He wasn't a we. If he is a we, then you're in deep shit, because he was promoting a rapist, pedophile, satanic POTUS, who is the most destructive person on the planet. And he was promoting a fake God. If that's your we, then you just keep your mouth shut, because you are in serious trouble. And the they is little boys. The murder of Charlie Kirk was a little boy. You see him in that trial. He's such a wimpy boy. He can't even wear a suit coat. He's just a wimpy boy. It's a wimpy boy that was got caught up in the land of gopers and incels, found affinity with gamers. Ultimately didn't know if he was a boy or a girl. Didn't understand the value of life or death because of the games that he spent his life playing. He is like so many other Gen Zers. There's millions of him out there. Is that who you're going to kill, Elon? Gamers? Aren't you the number one ranked Diablo player in the world? Aren't you a gamer, Elon? And by the way, Elon,
how do you know that?
You'd be much better off as an incel yourself, because all you have is horrid relationships with women, and you're a really crappy father. You are that man, Elon. You are that boy. Are you at war with yourself? You want to kill all little boys that are lost in the world of gaming? What are you really saying, Elon? Is your soul that hollow?
I think so. I think that is the lack of empathy that he possesses, that he just
a lack of intelligence cannot. Even this is a lack of knowing, at least. A lack of knowing, a lack of understanding, a lack of character, a lack of empathy, all those things. And he doubles down on them all the time. I pity him. I don't care who it offends. I'm saying it anywhere. Jesus is coming back. Can I get an amen? Yeah, you can have as many amens as you want. The name of the Egyptian god. You want him? You can have him. Now, Jesus, I killed him. Sorry. He ain't coming back. You can find his death certificate right here. Entirely. I have 5 volumes of this. I have printed his death certificate. So he's diddly-eyed dead. So I'm sorry. He ain't coming back. Oh, by the way, he wasn't actually here in the first place. I killed him, but it was with words, because that's how you kill myths. So the only person you're actually offending is God.
Yeah. That
There is no more offensive religion to God than Christianity. That's who you're offending.
there's what 2.2 billion Christians on the planet, right? And they go around trying to maintain some sort of oppressed victim status for Christianity, right? Oh, I don't want to offend anybody with my Christianity, because we can't say it's not popular. It's like, really?
Yeah, really. That the whole martyrdom of Christianity and Christians, the whole thing was a lie, and it was to create this myth that that belief meant something, that you could prove your belief by going up against the Romans, and so that they were persecuted. If you read the Roman records, they said, "Good God, here's the rope. Go out and hang yourself. We're just tired of dealing with it. Go away." No, that the whole thing is a fraud to make it look like, we're an oppressed minority. No, you've been the majority religion for almost 2,000 years, and you are the oppressors. You've always been the oppressors. You're not a victim, although you're going to become a victim.
Well, of your own stupidity.
I can promise you that, because you have offended God. Allah is the God of the Muslims is a false god. Buddha is a false god. By the way, Buddha never claimed to be a god. Shiva is a false god. Then they come down here, and Jesus, he is the one true God. Now, I'm here to tell you, congratulations, Titus, the preacher. What a terrible name for a preacher. It was the Roman general and emperor that was ultimately the son of Vespasian that destroyed the temple and hauled the Jews into captivity. Congratulations there, Pastor Titus. And I'm going to give you an attaboy, Pastor Titus. 3 out of 4 is far better than the average nincompoop does on X. And you've got 3 or 4 right. Allah. The Muslims, Allah of the Muslims, by the way, he's not all of the Muslims, but, what's most interesting is Allah's name is actually not even mentioned in the Quran. And the name that is used to represent Allah, Allahu, Allahi, Allahe, which it means it's the for him or the for her. That name is about the 4th or 5th deity of the Quran. Maybe even the 6th, depending on how you count them. There are whole surahs to Ar-Rahman, which was the most prominent god of the Quran early on, and of course the rabbi, which is a fast one that the rabbi sold him as the Lord. And by the way, he is as real. Allah is as real as is Jesus. Same personality, same spirit. It's just not God. Buddha never claimed to be a god, and Shiva is one of a few million Hindu gods, so it's really probably not a very good comparison. So I've actually now destroyed your 3 for 4. Maybe you weren't even batting 3 for 4, so I take it back, the compliment. You're just as stupid as everybody else on X. Thank you, Preacher Titus, for playing. This says, may the Lord protect Trump. Somewhere in the copy, when it was all teed up originally, that was the headline on it, and I can say that since Satan's favorite title is the Lord, and since Trump is possessed by Satan, your prayer will be answered. He wanted to say, pray that the Lord will protect Trump, and I'm saying that. And so there's an answer to prayer. Satan will protect the man that he is demon possessed as Satan. You're a winner, chicken dinner. You've got a fulfilled prayer. Well, that is until such time as we reach Teruah and 2033, and it's not going to work out very well for him. But you won't be around to see it, so it won't bother you much.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you're going to get the Iranian bounty. $100 million. I mean, you can collect in 2033, right?
Mm-hmm. You know, I've read the Yahweh's prophecies about this job. I may not think that I am doing the job to the level that should be done, because, you know, we have very few covenant members to show for the effort, which actually is what Yahweh wanted. A few quality over quantity is always been his agenda. And we have delivered more covenant members than everybody else prior to us combined. So, I mean, that's saying something. But God is so pleased with the ultimate job that we all do, that he says that all the wealth of our enemies will be ours. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of buffoons out there that, you know, are our enemies that have a lot of do-re-mi. And I'm not sure the do-re-mi is going to do us any good in the future. But, you know, if we got 1,000 years, we're going to be hanging out here on Earth. And so there's some things that will probably be enjoyable once you get them fumigated and cleaned up and all of that. De-pooped if it was a Trumpian. That God says, you know, why waste it? Well, just share it among the family.
Yep. Can use Versailles to house sheep.
Oh yeah, well, the fact of the matter is that God's very clear on what's going to happen in Gaza. It's going to be sheepfolds. So if you think that as part of the peace board that you're going to build resorts in Gaza and you're going to get Hamas to lay down their arms so that you can do that, I'm here to tell you that in 7 years, Gaza won't have to worry about the rubble. God's going to take care of all of that. He's going to replant it so that it's garden-like, and he is going to use Gaza as sheepfolds.
Going to be beautiful pastures.
Yeah, it'll be beautiful pasture land. Why? Yeah, pasture land with an ocean view. Sounds lovely to me. I'm still not going there, but that's what it'll be. So here's Mr. Ugo. And Ugo has fired his shot from his cannon. And he says, one reason I cannot accept Christianity. Accepting Christianity means accepting that my ancestors are burning in hell because Christianity hadn't reached them. Now, there are a lot of people that are easily fooled by this. And by the way, I don't think Ugo is who he is pictured there to be. I think this is just part of the, there's a huge atheist. It's kind of odd that atheists would find it so useful to use X to promote atheism. But here's the deal. Ugo, just going to help you out a bunch here. God has nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. There has never been a Christian in hell, so that or heavens, and never been a Christian in heaven. So by accepting Christianity, you wouldn't go to heaven. There are going to be a lot of Christians in hell. But there's no fires in hell. Now, here's the reality of it there, Ugo. There are 3 destinations for human souls. Whether you believe what I'm telling you or not doesn't change the fact that there are 3 destinations for human souls. There have been from the beginning. And if all you do is protest religion and say, I'm not going to accept your religion, then your soul is not going to go to hell. If you have been deceived by a different kind of religion, the religion of your ancestors, and you prefer that because, well, that would mean that your ancestors are not in the Christian hell, and you've been deceived by that, your soul will simply cease to exist. Now, if you're here, Ugo, because what you want to do is promote atheism, and you're actually here to speak against God and not just against Christianity, if that's your intent, then, Ugo, I got bad news for you. You're headed to Sheol. But then I got good news for you. You weren't burned there. There's no fires in Sheol. So you got that going for you. Now, there is a better alternative than having your soul dissipate into nothingness, which is going to happen with 99.9% of people. They didn't know God. God didn't know them. There's no harm, no foul, no penalty, no reward. Your soul just simply ceases to exist. It ends this whole argument. And for those who have deliberately misled others away from God, or who have deliberately harmed his people, you get a express ticket to Sheol. And that's not a very good thing. That's a really bad outcome, but there's no fires there. There's no tortures. It's just eternal separation. And God has a plan. It's his house. He has 7 rules for his house. And if you are willing to accept those 7 rules, with the first of which is you stop being religious, not your ancestor religion, not any religion. If you stop being religious and you stop promoting nonsense on X, then there's 4 others that you have to meet. If you accept those God's conditions, then you can live with him in his home. No, I don't think that is something that's going to happen to you, Hugo. I'm sorry, but based upon your attitude here, I don't think it's going to happen. I wish for you something different, but what I want for you has no bearing on what you choose.
That's the beauty of the whole plan. You get to choose yourself.
You get to choose.
No matter what. Even if you choose not to decide, you have still
made
a choice.
You made a choice. Yep. You made a choice. Everybody gets to choose their own fate. Oh, well.
I choose
you can't
to
actually
yada.com.
You can't choose the fate of heaven in God's presence without knowing and accepting his conditions. So it takes a little more than just choosing. You can't say, I won't be in heaven. And it's not going to work that way for you. You can say, I won't be in hell, and that'll probably work for you if you promote some kind of lie. But for most people, they're going to choose some religious alternative, and that religion is going to turn out to be false, and they're going to die along with their religion. How? Boy, there's a lot of jihadi keyboard jihadis on X this morning. And this is a rocket launcher that is being shot at invading Americans. So I think what we have here is a keyboard jihadist, because I think we would see in the news if there were really Americans that were invading Iran, where a rocket launcher like this would have some value. Methinks this is a keyboard jihadist.
Yeah, to say the least. I just loved how you're so far away from it, and the rocket launcher itself is jiggling as opposed to the camera jiggling. So I was like, "Come on, man!
Come on, man!" The thing that I hate, literally despise, about X is that when Elon turned X over to Grok made the decision that he would not run X according to the wishes of the participants. X had been set up so you choose who you follow, and you would get everything that somebody you follow. If they posted something, you would see it. And somebody you said, I don't want to follow, you would get nothing from them. And that your feed on X would be comprised first and foremost of the people you chose to follow. I followed thousands of people on X. I received nothing from any of them. Nothing. Whatever they post, I don't see it. Because Grok decides that it's smarter than my preferences. My preferences mean nothing. That it will only send me what it wants me to see. And so what I get is a lot of this shit.
Yeah, I found that Grok has disabled my notifications. Yes. So people that I followed in, like Lisa Rosen.
Yes.
That notification keeps getting turned off.
Yeah. Yeah, Grok is really sinister on X, and it has ruined X as an experience. So I only use X. I would use Facebook for the same purpose, but the AI on Facebook is dumber than Grok. And so it's incapacitated at the moment. But I use it because it feeds this program where we can go through images and talk about them. and this is what you get. Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? A, yes. B, no. Can I have a C? Hell no.
Hell no, right? Jesus didn't exist. How about
No.
it's the same thing on
Santa
YouTube.
Claus and the Easter Bunny. I mean, Peter Pan would be a better option than Jesus, because with Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and Peter Pan, you're not pissing off God. With Jesus as a counterfeit of Dode, you are pissing off God. That is a really dumb thing to choose. He's not going to save you from anything other than save you from entering heaven.
Yeah. Every day, whenever we're off the show, I have YouTube playing on it so I can watch the stream. Every day when the stream goes off, the next thing that pops up is a 15-minute sacrament to Jesus. Every day, I'm just like, do you not listen to what I listen at all? You know, it's
Yes. Yeah. YouTube. YouTube's impossible to work with. YouTube has a platform that is conducive to streaming these kinds of programs, but it is just an awful place, and has no customer service. It's got nothing going for it other than bandwidth. So this war correspondent is just, holy smokes, President Trump just put a reporter in her place. They just love it when Trump speaks nasty to a feminine reporter.
Oh, yeah.
Reporter. Just put her in her place. Reporter, the cost of your ballroom doubled. Trump, I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. You are not a blah, 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 blah. Hey, war correspondent, you ever considered looking at the site? You ever looked at the site? I mean, there's a lot of little aerial views of the East Wing that Trump tore down. He's presented many graphic depictions of his ballroom. Guess what? The footprint has never changed. It is exactly the same dimensions, because guess what? You'd go out into the street if you tried to change the dimensions at all. Those dimensions are set. They're, by the way, they're absurd in terms of their scale, because they dwarf the White House itself, which means that this nincompoop has absolutely no concept of architecture, no sense of proportions. But then he's the coppercon that's working with Satan and the construction of the new temple that they want to build in Jerusalem. It has no concept of scale. It's a monstrosity. Just as this, every one of Trump's buildings have to be the tallest, biggest ever. They have no sense of scale. So it is the footings of it, the foundation of it, are exactly the size that the site will enable. It could no more be increased by 5%. The man on the moon, it's impossible. I doubled the size? Bullshit. He lied, and you thought that he prevailed. You thought that a lie by a man who was way out of line in demolishing the East Wing, who was way out of line in building this goddamn ballroom, and has made a mess of everything, and you're celebrating him lying to a woman and then demeaning the woman. War correspondent, you're a piece of shit. You're no better than this piece of shit.
It looks like an abandoned construction site now. Is he still in court?
I absolutely agree with President Trump. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize more than anyone else in history of the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump stopped 8 wars and really probably more. So, Sarah, are you a bot or mental rot? Which one are you? Are you a bot or mental rot?
We did a show on propaganda and went through the 4 points, and this one hits all 4, doesn't it?
All 4 of them. Yep.
We say a lie
draped in the
enough.
red, white, and blue,
Red, white, and blue
of American flag. It's I'm repeating the lie over and over again. I add a new theory to my my 8 wars that I've stopped each time. Yep, it's the same thing. I'm going to lie over and over again. I'm going to lie so often that you're just going to give up resisting the lie, and you're going to believe it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sarah. Nice job. Oh, here's a keyboard jihadist. It's Jihadi Ali. Is this fellow. And he's saying, breaking news. You have to play this thing, but breaking news. An Israeli cargo plane transporting military equipment was attacked and destroyed by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps near the Strait of Hormuz. The released footage clearly shows a large-scale operation planned by Israel was thwarted by Iran. Boy, those Iranians, they really know how to blow up a plane, don't they?
Save the day. Save the day.
Oh, yeah. Can you show this plane that they blew up? Boy, a plane that floats on water, huh? He thinks that's not a plane. What part of airplane and water versus sky did they not teach you in school there, Jihadi Ali? God. And when you think that America is battling this stupid and losing, when you lose to this stupid, what does it say about your level of stupid?
Yes. Every combat field manual is written at a 6th grade level. They do not.
I think in 6th grade, I think if you were to print this and see Dick and Jane run and play in the sandbox, that somebody would know that that is a ship and not a plane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can play this one too, because this was a definite kaboom. Urgent, Iran has reportedly targeted as an Israeli nuclear site, is what they're playing. And it has become, you can go ahead and play it, it's become a real challenge, Kevin, to know what you can believe and what isn't and isn't true. Now, in this particular case, I think the likelihood of this being true is less than 1%. But the contribution of AI to enabling people to deceive on social media is really criminal. And so people will say, well, breaking news, this came from China. So China ought to know that Iran dismantled what it calls the genocidal Zionist regime and blew up its nuclear site. And go ahead and play it. Mushroom cloud. Very clever.
Yeah, fake.
Of course.
The shock wave is incorrect.
Well, of
It doesn't
course.
meet the physics dynamics.
No, of course it's fake. AI is really crappy, actually, at faking things. But there's just so much of this. So much of it. And, you know, quite honestly, it's not worth the effort to point out the fakes. What's to be gained?
Right.
You know, that's like saying I'm going to remove 10,000 turds in a cesspool. Still 100,000 turds in the cesspool.
1,000 more to go.
What have you accomplished? Okay, just now, a massive development no one saw coming. President Trump has publicly declared that the U.S. will seize Krog Island from Iran. Krog Island is the Persian Gulf outpost that controls nearly 90% of Iranian oil distribution. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's true or not. I actually hope it is. Not because it's smart, because it's stupid. Not because it'll prevail, because it'll fail. Not because I want the Iranians to win, because I'm the most anti-Islamic person on the planet. For good reason. Because I want it to become ever more obvious that we're dealing with an insane, demon-possessed, diabolical president of the United States. And that this is World War III. And that should he make that decision, and he's bragged about it numerous times, Americans have the wherewithal that they can take Krug Island. It's very lightly defended. But so what? What do they get? Put Americans in a place where they're cannon fodder, they're drone fodder? Why would you put Americans in that position? You can't defend them there. You can't resupply them there.
Yeah.
And then what good is it? Because you didn't have to invade the coast. At what cost? Where do you stop? What happens when they capture POWs?
Oh, it's over. That is America's worst fear ever. With any war, it is always the POWs. Yes.
He'll poop in his pants. I mean, Israel destroyed Gaza because of POWs. They weren't really POWs, they were abductees. But Israel sacrificed its future because they were so easily controlled by abductees. Americans are not going to tolerate having Americans there. I mean, so my view is that the likelihood of him doing it is slim because the likelihood of POWs is high. And going into the midterms, if there's POWs, he won't just lose them. He'd be catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So world news just now, I don't think so. But, he is insane. So could an insane, demon-possessed man do something that is overwhelmingly detrimental to himself, to his country, and to the world? Sure.
I wonder if they're going to go with the Ukrainian strategy. You know how the Ukrainians put five or six guys deep into Russian territory, and then they wave a flag and have the drone overhead see the Ukrainian flag there, and it's propaganda, literally, that, hey, Ukrainians are pushing into this region, Does he drop a couple guys on Karg Island to wave an American flag and have, the drones show that, hey, we took Karg Island, and then, get them off real quick? I mean, that's nobody buys that, but still, yeah.
It's just hard to imagine. Yeah, that whole Ukraine war just shows how easy it is to deceive the overwhelming preponderance of people. People have been conditioned to think that Russia is the aggressor, and when it's the United States. They think that that freedom and democracy are on behalf of the Ukraine, and it's not even close to being true. So it's just so easy to fool people today. Ignorance runs rampant. Most people not only don't know, but they can't think, so there's no capacity to reason. And that's the swamp we live in. And it's going to only get worse.
You think for tonight's show on we're going to do luminaries, or are you going to give us a little bit of Yasha 11:6? Or have you worked?
I've thought about that. I was thinking about that today, and if we do Yasha 11, we have to do 11 through 6, and probably have to cover some of the commentary that's part of it. And that's 2 hours of thoughtful presentation, probably all by itself. I think we can. I think we can do it. I'm assuming there's no song for this week, or I've seen a beautiful song, but it doesn't have the transitions in it yet or the lyrics put in. But it's a Depot masterpiece on the graphics. So I've seen a song, heard it, and seen it with all the visuals, but no transitions and no lyrics laid in. And I would assume
I don't have a song planned for tonight. I don't have a song planned for tonight. So,
okay. All right. So I think it makes some sense. It really will depend on, can I get enough of it written to go through and talk about it? And I think probably. I'm not going to be able to send it out far enough in advance for anybody to do their homework. Who is our rotation for this evening?
We're on rotation 2, so we got Bilotti, Will, and Maura.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. I'll try. We'll see. But it would really, okay. it would really be interesting, I think, to go there. It is, and my rewrite currently for Coming Home 4 is where this is where I'm working on this. I've been stuck on it for 3 days because it's there's just no passing through it quickly. And then I was planning on using this to add another chapter to Coming Home 6, but Coming Home 6 is already 725 pages, so it's it may have to be a Coming Home 7 for all I know. But right now I need to get through this and then table it and say, we'll bring this back up at a later time. And I'm dealing now really defining all the terms. That list of animals that everybody says, well, so it went from the Chodar to the future world of Nirvana. Everybody's getting along with each other. And no, there's not one of those critters is an actual animal. And what it says is mind expanding, mind blowing in its implications. And the implications are that now we know what Paul was counterfeiting when he composed the Christian New Testament, because nothing in the Christian New Testament makes sense regarding this. And he was not creative, and he could not have sold his lie unless it was a counterfeit of something. It's just like you want to go and counterfeit the $100 bill. You're not going to do it with green crayons and a picture of Peter Pan on it. You have to have an article that is reflective of that which has been established. And so his counterfeit is of what actually happened. And this explains what actually happened. So I hope to. We'll see if we can get there this evening. But I appreciate the thought. Thank you, Rich, for the show. We'll see you tonight, 6 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock Atlantic time, family hour of the Yahweh vlog. And we hope to turn to the Chodar, because this is of the Chodar during Pesach in 33. Turns out he was equipped with the 7 spirits of Yahweh to operate at 2 very distinct times.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch Yao on our next podcast.